Are we live? I
Yes.
think we're live. Hey, Sahas, how are you?
Happy New Year, Diana. How are you?
Happy New Year's. I'm good. So just to give the viewers a little bit, so we're on the flip side here with myself, Diana Lizrazo, and Sahas Chopra. We will be talking about mindset. And so every the first Monday of every month, we always talk about something related to mindset. And since we're starting off the year in January, why not talk about our goals, right? And so our quote, I wanted to just say the quote is that a goal without a timeline is just a dream. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, uh, you've just said it everything. Like your goals without a timeline it's just a dream. And yeah, like I think everything starts with a dream, to be really honest. I believe that, you have to first dream, but then also have to put into action, put into execution. And somewhere, I feel like this is my personal opinion that a lot of people get into, writing down their New Year resolution. And it is a good thing to write down their like a resolution or of thing like that. But I think it is not something that needs to be just done once a year. This could be done any time of the year, and it should keep on growing. It should keep on multiplying. It should, like, you should be able to just revisit it. Like for me, I'll tell you what how I do it. The reason why it's not like for me, writing down my goals is not something which I don't do it once a year. I do it like every single day, and I revisit them. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not like I revisit them and I go back and visualize those things. Like, what do I need to achieve? How do I need to achieve? How would I feel if I achieve those goals? What's my life going to be like? And I think that really brings a little bit of that visualization gets you a little hint of a spice of how your dream is actually going to be like when you achieve it, and that just pushes you a little more. That okay, it tastes good, it tastes sweet. Why don't I have to work harder? Then I have to work harder. So that's the whole point. I feel it's
Mm-hmm.
really strong in that way. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
and it's exciting too, right? When you're setting the goals, just gives you a kind of like guidelines, right? Like
Mm.
what you realize, like, am I getting closer? Do I need to pivot and change because it's
Yeah.
taking time? Or does the goal itself just completely need to change because either I achieved it too quickly or it was a
Mm.
lot more complicated than I thought and I need to like revisit it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that, like, and that is why it is also really true that, don't give yourself like big goals that you're going to achieve, what you're going to achieve in the next maybe a year or 10 year or 5 years down the line. I think that somewhere makes you lazy, and it makes you that, oh, there is so much of timeline for that particular goal to be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
So I prefer that, I like to give myself very intermittent goals so that I'm accountable and I'm more towards, uh, getting into action and completing those. There's one thing that Elon Musk, you must have heard about it, or well, it's pretty famous, that he said that whatever your goals are, what you want to achieve in 10 years, try to complete them in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
6 months. See, but the thing is, he said that you will not be, there's a like 99% chances that you would not be able to achieve those goals, but it will really accelerate your the way that you will achieve in the future, because in 6 months you would have done lots of work that you would have otherwise not done in 6 months because you thought that it was 10 years goal.
Mhm.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I agree to a certain extent, and I think you have to know the kind of person you are also, I guess, right? Because there's also that stereotype or that saying that people, or I've heard that people say where people will do a crazy big goal for 1 year, and then because they don't achieve it, um,
Mhm.
then they get discouraged, right?
Yeah.
So I think it probably also depends on your personality because there's because like that, like a lot of people are so into the get rich quick schemes, right? And then they get into it and then they fail miserably. And then they're on to like the next one, and the next one and the next one and never actually achieve anything. Um,
Mm.
so I think maybe finding an intermediary between the two is probably a good thing. Or like having your big goal, because it is
Mhm.
true. Like what you said is also true. Because I like to have a big goal, like how they say, like shoot for the moon, but if you at least get to the sky, like
Yeah.
that's way better, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's so it's kind of like I think it's probably depends on your personality too. Because if you're a person that gets discouraged very easily, maybe the small, like going big is good. But I think what people also forget, I would say, is actually like, yes, you have your big goal, but
Mhm.
also realize that then you have to focus on those micro habit changes, which is, I
Yeah.
think, people forget about a lot too. That um, and I feel like also something that people also forget about is actually that you'll make this change, and
Mm.
you do your micro changes,
Yeah.
and you don't really see very big changes for the first 3 months, 6 months. And if you don't last longer than that,
Yeah.
you don't realize the potential you have, because usually once you like break that barrier of, like, it depends, different people are different, but there's usually like some people are faster and like they'll have the 3 month
Yeah.
barrier, and then they'll all of a sudden start ramping up. And
Yeah.
then there's the other people where it's probably more of like a 6 months, right? You hit 6 months and then all of a sudden you start ramping up.
Mm.
And so when people give up before they see the fruits of their labor, it's quite sad, because you're probably just about to break ground and then you give
Mm.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I also feel that, instead of one thing that I have also started, like I have included in from pretty much last couple of years, is that what I do is I don't think of like what is the goal in terms of the number or the value that it has, but like how can my goal is generally towards like how persistent can I be, how consistent can I be. So like I give myself a target instead of saying that I want, for example, I want 1000 subscribers on YouTube, for example. I will say that I want to upload 50 videos on YouTube by the end of this year,
Mhm,
because that is more action oriented. Now, when you think about this, having 1000 subscribers is not really in my hands.
mhm,
It's too much based on my content. It's too much based on something that I would like, some people would like it, appreciate it, or whatever. But what's really in my hand, in my control, is the action part and how consistently that I stand up towards that. So I
mhm,
give myself that I have to stand up for 50 weeks, 52 weeks every single week, and I complete a 1 year goal for that. And then when I know that I'm persistent, I'm consistently showing up, then I can give myself that kind of a goal, which could be a numerical goal, which could be measurable, which could be performance based.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. Did you read that from a book? Because that's very interesting you're saying that, because I've read that from a book and I'm following those types of steps. I'm curious if you read the same book.
No, I this is
No?
just out of experience. Which one are you talking
Okay.
about?
So I can tell you the book that I've read and I love the book.
Uh-huh.
So it's called oh, now I forget it. The four
4 week,
no,
four.
four disciplines.
Okay.
Oh, where's my book? Is it here? Okay, it's right here, so I'm gonna quickly get it. Oh yeah, the four disciplines of execution. Where am I?
Oh, okay.
There we are.
Okay.
And
I heard about this.
I love this book. So it talks about that. So basically what it is you set your goal,
Mm.
right? And then you set your goal, like your big goal, like your 1 year goal.
Yeah.
And then you have your lead measures and your lag measures. And
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about before is your lag measures, where you say, for example, um, like that, like I want to get, like, let's say you say your 1 year goal is 1 million, and then you divide that out, like how much you have to increase it each month. And let's say you're doing like, maybe you're
Correct.
doing an exponential thing, like 1,000, and then 2,000, and then 4,000,
Hmm.
right? So then you say this
Yeah.
month is 1,000, so that's your lag measure. And
Yeah.
then your lead measure is what you're saying, right? You have to have, it has to be influenceable.
Yeah.
So it has to be an action that you can influence. So for example, like you're saying, if you're seeing that you're increasing, maybe this month it only increased to 500, and you're like, oh, but I only posted like twice a week,
Yeah.
then you're like, maybe that means I have to start posting 4 times a week, or maybe I need to start changing the way the videos like have to be. So your lead measures are actions that you take that will influence your lag.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why, and yeah, so, and then there was another one, it's called, and then the other last one is called accountability. So making yourself accountable. But it's a really good book. I love
Hmm.
it. I'm starting to do all my goals related to that. And, it really helps you because you also like do little graphs to show you your progress, because they say like people are visual, so you want to show your progress.
Hmm. Right.
So yeah, I love the book. Highly recommend it to everyone who wants to actually achieve a goal, because it's very effective, especially when you really start understanding the difference between lead and lag measures, and like you said, like making it action oriented
Yeah.
and influenceable is what I would say, right? Something that you can influence.
Yeah.
Um,
And I also see that like sometimes what also happens when we write
oh, I don't know if you guys have frozen for
schools
him.
and measure
Hi, Sahas. Oh, sorry. Are you? Yeah.
linear it and see how is that. Can you hear me?
I
Can you?
can, yeah, now it just froze. I
Yeah,
don't know if it was you or
yeah,
me though.
yeah. It's. I think the internet is a little unstable at my end, so that's why it's
Okay.
coming up for some reason. Yeah, I was saying that a lot of people say that. I mean, some people also give themselves a big audacious goals, right? And but I think it's good to give yourself big audacious goals, but also reverse engineer it and see how
Hmm.
you are going to potentially
Make it
achieve that
happen.
goal over the period of, like, let's say if you have, for example, let's give that example of 1000 subscribers. If I'm talking about for YouTube, what do I need to do in order to get 1000 subscriber by the end of December 2022? Well, I have, if I'm talking about YouTube, then I'm talking about the algorithmic side of the things, that I have to post very consistently. Maybe I have to start posting 3 times in a day. It's
Hmm.
that it because that is how big of the platform is. But when I know that if I can't be consistent even one day in a week, then how am I supposed to go to that level? So my point would be, I might have to make 50 videos first as my first goal, and then
Hmm.
go forward to having 1000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, if I say 10,000 or 1000 subscribers right away, then it's just like, and I'm not even that much consistent into what I'm doing, then it's
Hmm.
simply, I'm literally relying on luck that one will work, one viral video will just get me those 1000 videos,
Yeah.
subscribers.
No, there's definitely yeah, and that's the actually in the book, at least that's the point of accountability, because you're
Mhm.
supposed to like minimum once a week check how you're doing. That's why you have graphs and stuff. You have to visually show it in graphs or in like table format,
Uh-huh.
and you do an analysis and you say, for example, you know, what did I do last week? And then how were the results?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, what do I need to change to make this week better? Which I also like, because you're also making small changes, right? It's not like you're giving yourself so many things like, oh, I need to do this. It's like you do a, because since you're only thinking in a week, and it's supposed to be, um, like the one big goal that you, whatever it is, one big goal, that it's
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to take up too much time of your week. I mean, those
Correct.
changes that you have to make in yourself or whatever it is.
Correct.
So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. If you haven't read the book, if any of the viewers haven't read the book and you want to achieve
Mhm.
goals, I feel like this is a New Year's resolution right there. Buy this book and get started.
Get started, yeah. Absolutely. There's another thing that I did last year. There's another thing that I did last year, but I still have to do for this year is that in 2019 December, I wrote myself a letter that I opened in 2021 December. That what have I achieved in 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good. I think it's a very. It was very. You know, like different kind of a feeling when you are reading it after a year, because obviously not everything that I wrote got, not everything that I achieved, but it was like some of the things that I did achieve, because when you're, and it also shows that mature you become, and I was really amazed to see that part more.
Which part?
I
Sorry, you
am I
cut out.
audible? Yeah. So I was saying, like, what happens is, like, when you were giving yourself, okay, am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, like, I've written down, like, what am I going to achieve over the next 1 year? And I've written down everything about it. And after 1 year, when I opened it and I started reading it, half of the things that I wrote were just like, like the same thing that I would given myself big audacious goals. And
Yeah.
I was just reading it, and it was funny when you're reading all these things. However, few of the things I did, which I knew that I could, which were in my hands and which I could really measure, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to achieve those. But the most important thing that I loved about that exercise was I changed a lot as a person, and looking person who wrote those goals.
Mm-hmm. And it's really nice to reflect back, right? Because like that, when you're reflecting back, there's a couple things at least I noticed that happens with me. What one I think is it's good to give yourself like to acknowledge your achievements,
Yeah.
right? Because like we'll always say thank you to everyone, or acknowledge their achievements, but we almost always forget about
Mhm.
ourselves. And I mean, if you like hearing it, like we ourselves like to hear it too, like so it's, and I feel like that's something that gets lost a lot, is that we forget to see that. And I remember actually in the middle of last year that kind of happened to me, where I was like looking at all, my real estate investor friends, and I'm like, oh my God, these people are like moving so quickly, and I'm not getting all the, like I'm not getting as many deals as they are. Like these people are moving so quickly. And
Yeah.
and I was telling this person like, oh, how are you getting, so many deals? And it was really funny because at that time my vision was more about real estate properties, and I don't have very many real estate properties compared to other people, because and then it was funny because I was just like, man, I only have like a couple real estates, and you guys like have so many. And
Mhm.
then they're like, aren't you like private lending like this many, and like,
Mhm.
and you also have real estate properties, and you have a social media page? And then I was like, holy crap, I'm doing a lot of stuff. And I just found it so funny that like that is just like didn't take the time to actually reflect back and look at that. Yeah, I actually had done a lot. And it's just because I was, trying to compare apples to apples, and
Yeah.
it's not, because I'm doing such different things, like I'm
Mhm.
more, like I would say the majority of my stuff is more on the private lending side, and for some
Yeah.
reason I kind of put that aside without even realizing, and like that actually makes me quite a bit of money, so
Yeah.
it was really funny when she said that. And then it just like completely flipped my mind. I was like, I am actually doing a lot. Holy.
Yeah. It is so natural, right? Like, it's so natural for us humans to just start comparing ourselves with the other person right away, no matter, even if that is not even on your goal, it's not even in your
Yeah.
list. But we start
Mm-hmm.
comparing ourselves, like, even if you don't ever want to buy a Lamborghini, but you would still see, oh, that guy is driving a Lamborghini, and I wish I also had. But you never had that,
As a
dream
goal.
as a
Yeah.
goal that you wanted to specifically buy a Lamborghini in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just human tendency for us to just compare ourselves. That's why it's really important to just shut down those noises, even from social media point of view, because there is so much out there it's right onto your face when you're scrolling through the feeds. It's right there that, oh, and it makes you realize, feel, even if you had a very good day, you think that you achieved a lot of stuff for today, it makes you feel like shit. that
Yeah.
that somebody else has earned like $10 million or something from one of
Yeah.
the deals that they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I That's why it's really important to just remind yourself of like where you are at, where they are at, and
Yeah.
you are your
Exactly.
own. Like you, the person in the mirror is your own competition. Nobody else. They are doing their own work. You don't know the kind of 10,000 hours other person has put into, and then they have received that kind of success in their lives. And right away, just within a click, when we scroll and we start judging ourselves and say, and then that thought of saying that, I'm not good enough, probably I don't know my stuff. That is where the things happen. And I think that is where the self talk needs to be there more while you are looking in the mirror in the morning, that you are you, and there is just one you. Nobody can imitate you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so shouldn't you.
Yeah, 100%. And like that, like my main part of that was about the gratitude, like making sure you even reflect on, like you said, like yourself. Because I remember at that time I was so busy, like just, trying to get all my real estate. And at the time I had a job. So it's like
Mm.
juggling both
Both
things.
things, yeah.
And yeah, and it's just kind of like didn't even have a time to acknowledge
Mm.
all the stuff that I had done. And then yeah, it was just really funny when she was just like, but aren't you doing this, aren't you doing that, aren't you doing this? And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I hadn't even had given myself the time to actually like like reflect
Yeah.
back and actually be like, wow, look at all the things that I've done, especially as like part-time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
hmm Yeah. So definitely I always say always reflect. I think reflecting back is always a very
Yeah.
important part of it. Because yeah, like it helps you. And making sure, like you said, making sure if you're gonna compare, it's apple to apples. Because
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's like you're so used to everyone in the real estate world saying
Yeah.
properties, 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 and like owning properties. And then, in private lending, you're not really owning the properties, right? So it's just I was, like making sure that you're actually, and I'm not saying to compare, but also just to see where you're at. Because in my sense, I wasn't really comparing it. It was more like I was actually interested in wanting to know, like, how are they able to move so quickly? Because I was
Hmm.
just like,
Yeah.
like, what are they doing? Maybe I'm missing things, right?
Yeah.
And then it was just like that. It was like I was just not even comparing apples to apples, and I was just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like,
99% things happen that way. 99% of the times we are never comparing apple to apple. It's
yeah,
just
and
like,
it's very true. We all have such different niches and different
hmm,
interests. That is very true. Like it's like we like to categorize real estate into one bucket,
yeah.
and there's just so many different areas of real estate. And even within those different areas of real estate or different strategies, people have their own criterias to those strategies which don't even match your own.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And just within real estate, like what you were talking about earlier, that you are a private lender and somebody asked you about the properties, and thought just started to doubt yourself. Oh, why don't I have many properties?
Yeah.
Just within real estate, if you look at it, there are so many different streams and strategies, and you are probably you could say that you are an expert in private lending. You are a specialist into that, and
hmm
you have taken over that niche, and you are the best at it. And I think
hmm
and that is what we need to do. We need to just focus into one thing and not just become jack of all trades.
100%.
Yeah, one or two things.
Yeah, at least, yeah, especially at least to start with, because I feel
Yeah.
like that's actually another problem when it comes to setting your goals.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to have like 20 goals, and this
Hmm.
book is actually about like your one important, the one that you really care about getting done, that big one that actually matters.
Hmm.
And then like that you start realizing like how important or how unimportant other things are, when you start
Yeah.
really analyzing what is the one big important goal,
Hmm.
and then you just put all your focus on that. um it's just a good way to analyze yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Abhi, like recently also, when I was thinking about it. So this time I haven't really written that the letter to myself, which I'm going to read, that I was talking about. I'm still going to write within this week. But I think this is something that, like any of the listeners or watchers or whoever is doing it, this is also something that you can also try out
Mhm.
and see yourself, because what you will see, even if I say that, even if you're unable to achieve all the 100% goals whatever you have done, that's not the point. The point is, if you are growing as a person, that is a good measure of performance.
Mhm.
And if you see that by December or January, that you have done better as a person, you have become a better human being, you have become kinder, you are spending more time with your family, which was not probably even on the list there. Then,
Mhm.
because maybe by the end of 1 year the priorities have changed. Maybe earlier you wanted 1000 rental properties, but now you just want to spend more time with your family and have a comfortable lifestyle while traveling around.
Mhm. 100%. And like that, I I think as we start growing, that's where like mindset and personal development started becoming huge for at least me, and I'm sure for you too, right? Where it just became so important and just amazing to see yourself. I don't know. I found it like that, like seeing the person I've changed to from last year, and just was so fascinating. Like
Hmm.
one small thing I hate with a passion, reading books. Hate
Yeah.
it. And I read books now. Like I love them. I love reading books because I found that I'm super fascinated with me being an experiment, to say, right? Like what can I do to myself to improve in certain areas of myself? Like for example, um like that communication for me is really big. Like I find it very fascinating, like how to talk to people, um
Yeah.
and just and just gauge like how they are, or learn like how to like read them and things like that. I find it really fascinating.
Psychology of understanding people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and things like that, like organizing myself. I mean, I've always loved organizing myself, to be honest. That like
Mm.
ways to organize is like something I love, but it's just it's very, yeah, it's just so fascinating to see, or like 75 hard. I
Hmm.
really
Have you done
enjoyed
that?
75 hard. I was never able to complete it. I never made it to 75. I can't remember what I made it to. Somewhere, I think like 36 or 37 days. But I have to say, it really taught me what the meaning of an excuse was. And
Mm.
I realized I make a lot of them. And it was so funny because I thought of myself as not a person that makes excuses. Like
Uh-huh.
because I would say like outwardly, I'm not a person that makes excuses. Like I got to do something, I get it done.
Get it done.
But
Yeah.
internally in my head, like if it's something I got to get done, I'm probably in my head like, why am I doing this? Why did I have to do this? Trying to stop myself, like convincing myself that I don't need to do this, like saying everything in my head while I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And it was really funny to that 75 hard actually made me understand how much our minds control us,
Hmm.
and that we need to take control of our
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
75 hard did that to me. Sadly, I didn't get to finish it. Maybe this year I'll try to do it again, because I like now, for example, I go for walks in the
Hmm.
winter. I never used to do that
Yeah.
nonsense, and I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I've never tried 75 hard yet.
No.
No. But I remember, like because I know there are so many things related to it, because you are doing it's mind, body, and spirit, right? Like you're also reading the book, you are also being disciplined, not just around your physical exercises, but like your mental health and everything. So
Hmm.
I think when I was like around 5 years or 6 years ago, I was very much devoted into physical exercises. So like drinking 10, I literally used to drink 10 liters in a day of water.
Wow.
That kind of, because when the problem, I don't know whether it is a problem with me or what, like it's a switch on when it happens, or it's either a switch off.
Oh, okay.
So
Your go hard,
yeah.
or not.
Or I'm mostly like, it's like this. If I know that I have to do this now, if I'm completely convinced, I'll just go do it. just do it all the way. And that sometimes it's very tricky, because you think that you're doing good by doing everything, but it's not the right way to do it. So it's not a good thing for me also to go all in at once, because I might burn out. There are so many things that can happen on the way. But it's a good adrenaline to have when things are happening. But now I've started to make myself a little more stable when things, instead of like, I've been very consistent in and disciplined into doing my exercises. So literally shut down and lockdown and everything never affected my physical routine, my fitness routine. I was doing at home. Even though gyms were closed, I was still doing at home. Even now, just today, the news came that gym, like everything is on the lockdown again. So be it. We have to adjust according to. I'm glad that I had those very limited. I wasn't really very much accustomed to a lot of luxury.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep myself very much limited to resources. So that has helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know what you mean, actually. It's just funny. You kind of sound like my husband. He's the same way. And like, to give you a very simple example of, it's like ingrained in both our lives, is that like something simple, like we go for a bike ride,
Mm.
and literally Giancarlo's one of these. Like, he'll zoom and then coast, zoom and then coast, zoom and then coast. And I'm like a very consistent, like,
Mm.
like just going along, going along. So you see, like, if you watch us biking, it's like the funniest thing ever, because you see Giancarlo doing this, and I'm like slowly getting, getting there, right?
Same thing. Like it happens with me and my wife also. Like whenever I'm walking faster. Then I'm slowing down, waiting for her, and she's consistently walking. Like she's like, "Why do you even bother to walk faster?"
Yeah. Although Giancarlo's is a little bit different. He he for some reason like needs to speed fast, and then once he gets tired, then he'll coast, and I guess use me as an excuse that he's like waiting for me, or like wait to catch up for
Okay.
me. And then once he catches his wind, he's like he goes like flying again. I find
Mm.
it so funny. And whereas like I'm just like consistency. Although I
Consistency.
have to say, actually, with real estate, um getting into real estate, and I don't know what hit me, but I have to say that real estate 2 years ago, I did go through like that ramp, like you said, like
Mm.
I for some reason like clicked, everything started clicking so well, and I did a ramp up. And I think, I don't know, I think that must happen to a lot of people that are um like that, like once you get it, whatever it is,
Mm.
that you're trying to
Yeah.
achieve, and it just clicks and makes sense, and it's maybe like that finding your purpose, like your why or whatever it is, but once it clicks, it's the strangest thing ever to feel, it's like you have all this abundance of energy, and you are just like go go go.
Mm.
But like you said, you burn out. Like I went through a few burnouts during
Mm.
the 2 years. I went through more in the first year than this last year, because by this last year I was kind of like, okay, back to like the stability, like back to, okay, let's figure this out and not like kill myself.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Ab-
it's just very interesting how we can change our minds,
yeah.
like that. Like, for example, something, once I got it, and just was like, real estate's what I want to do. I mean, I've always wanted to do real estate. I've been in real estate for much longer than 2 years. But when I was treating it as a business, and I
Mm.
just got the whole business aspect and like what I could do with it, like I could tell you, like, your mindset shifts that change, right? For example, one of my mindset shifts that changed was, um, for example, back in the day, I always had the mentality that I need to quit my job to have enough time, to mentally be able to do to start a business, was one of
Mm.
the things. I like did real estate part time,
Mm.
and I couldn't believe it. I I was not tired anymore after work, and I was just like, I would finish work and I'd have all this energy. And another thing that happened to me, for example, I had a mentality that I have to get 8 hours of sleep or else I'm not functional. Again, that's probably still true, but the fact was that I was literally probably sleeping like more like 6 and 5 hours a day. And like, but it's like for some reason I'd just wake up. Like I'd wake up early and I'd like ready to start the day. And then for example, like I'd be so focused that I'd probably be like until midnight getting work done.
Mm.
And I think again that was probably one of like the reasons I burnt out, because but it was just shocking to see how your mind changes, and you're just like when you have that purpose or you understand it and things click, like
Yeah.
you break all
When you
your
have a direction,
mindset
when you
shifts,
have a
right?
direction. Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah.
When you have a direction.
Yeah. Yeah, you break all those barriers, right? Like that. Like there were so many things that I was just like, I can't start a business until I quit my job and I have full time to do it. And I couldn't believe the amount of work I did in 2019. Like that was insane, the amount of work that
Mhm.
I did, or 2020, I think. Actually, it would have been 2020, yeah. But and and it was just because I don't know, it just clicked. I understood it, I got it, and it was just like I can make this work. I get this now. And I
Yeah.
think that's what how was it for you?
The last year, it was
As
good.
in like for example, like you said, like because it's kind of, you said like a switch on and off. I think it's kind of the
Yeah.
similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Where
It's
you
just
just get it.
like for me, like switch off, switch on sort of a thing happens with me. Like for me, when the life starts getting very ordinary and mundane and very monotonous, it's very much predictable what's going to happen next. I like to switch gears. I just don't feel comfortable in that kind of environment. And even if
Mm-hmm.
it is related to my profession, so last year, not last year, in 2019, because 2019 was the sorry 2020, yeah, 2019, I sorry 2020 December, I left my job when I was working in sales for car dealership, and that was when I was like hustling and doing all that stuff, also doing marketing at the same time. But like, to my mind, I was thinking like, when should I, like, should I just you know have some kind of a stability with myself, like let's build my business. Once I know that I can leave it, and then I should leave it. But the thing was, it was so predictable for me that I didn't want to do that. So for me, it was like switch off, like switch on. I am leaving my job tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and I want some kind of an excitement sometimes in my adventure. Like, let's see what happens. It just gets me
Mm-hmm.
going, and that just held me. Like, because it's a kind of situation, your back is against the wall. Now, what you're gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah,
just
yeah.
happened with me. Now I sometimes need that spark. So
Mm-hmm.
I just throw myself into the well, and now figure it out. Now figure
Figure it out.
it out.
That's funny. But I totally get what you say, because that's funny you said that. I also went through um, a slump at work in 2019, where because maybe if before I had that job, I was a consultant,
Mhm.
and it was a very high paced environment. I loved it. Very like new things going on all the time. So it always kept me interested. Right. And I
Mm.
love that. Like, cause I'm the same thing. I need to be mentally stimulated. Like I need to be doing things that I love and that just stimulate me. So
Mm.
I'm not a very money driven person. I'm very like, actually, I'm a very driven person when it comes to like my mentality, right? Like
Mm.
I need to be mentally stimulated for me to be involved in things.
Yeah.
And which is like good and bad, right? Because in the job sense, it's good because um I can be very innovative,
Mm.
right? I can, and that was like one of the things that I think why I got so far where I did with in consulting and in my next job over was just because um I was never bound by money. Like to me it was never like I'm scared to lose my job. Like I could care less, like to me it was kind of one of those things. If I'm losing my job, it's because I've done my job very well and you don't need me.
Mm.
It was like one of those kind of things.
Mm.
But when I went from high pace to like slow pace, which I didn't realize how slow it could get, I was very bored. And it was just like I couldn't like I would get my work done in 2 hours,
Mm.
and and then I had nothing left to do in the day. And I'm not a person that can sit in front of my computer just waiting for work to come for me. And that's when I was just like, I really got into crypto, I got into stocks, and then I was just like, okay, let me get into this real estate stuff. Like, let me start looking into better and actually like see what I can do with it, right?
Hmm.
And so and then like that and then the pivot from like 2019 to 2020 where okay, like I've learned as much as I can learn, and now it's like one of those like I need to start taking action because it's like you can only read so much. And then
Correct.
that's when I got involved in communities and stuff because I was
Hmm.
just like I need to be around people that know what they're doing, because I'm like I'm way too scared to definitely mess things up, or not mess things up, but I'm too scared to take steps. I'm not a very action taking. I mean, now I'm very action taking, but at that time I
Yeah.
was very, very like analysis paralysis, and
Hmm.
you think everything is hard when it's really not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just in your head. Like for me also, like recently, like I've been not recently, like literally from a year, I've been procrastinating that for my video course that I wanted to launch it. And last year I just let it be because there was so much of work. It's just something that, you tell yourself. It's not really the truth. It's just you tell yourself, oh, you have a lot of work. You won't be able to do it, but you
Hmm.
can if you really want to do it.
Yes.
uh, but this time I was very focused. Now I have a timeline. I knew that December I dedicated completely into the modules that I wanted to create. I've got the script and everything, what needs to be written, what needs to be presented. So I've got everything. Now January, I know that I have to just do it, and I just want to get over with it
Hmm.
because I want to look back to it and say that I've done it.
Hmm. And not only that, I don't know if you realize, but we work it up as being so hard and so difficult.
Hmm.
And then once you start doing it, you realize it's not as bad as it is, at
Yeah,
least with
it's
me.
not.
Like, I think I work myself up way too much when it comes to new things.
Hmm.
And I've at least now gotten to the point of like that. Like, I'm really into also like those micro habits. Just do the first step of what it is
Hmm.
that you want to do when it's something new, because it doesn't feel as bad as it does when you're thinking like, oh my God, I need to, for example, like that, like creating a live, like when I first started doing
Hmm.
videos in
Yeah.
social media, like that terrified me to my core. I hated it with a passion. And it was, but then after and that one, I would say like that one was pretty hard for me, but like that, like
But
baby
look at
steps.
you. You've done really well for yourself. I'm really proud of you. The way that you're
Thanks.
doing. You're really brave. It's very difficult to show up consistent and like, consistently. That is the main challenge. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people come in, they do it, and they just go away. And
Mm-hmm.
give another reason. Oh, we just got busy with life and work. But it's a choice that you make. And you know
Yeah.
that this skill of yours, whatever you're doing, is going to make you even better
Mm-hmm.
networker, better person. You are going to gain so much of knowledge and wisdom from people, like from the community itself, and they're going to learn so much from you. I think it's a great move that you have gotten into.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And that's what it was. It was just like you see the benefits. Like
Yeah.
I saw that I want to change and just be someone different and improve certain parts, certain aspects of myself. And it was something like it has to be done because the fear is much less than what I want to actually get done. It's like I had
Mm.
that fear, like, oh, like I don't want to go live. I hate this. Like,
Mm.
again, like making as many excuses as I can.
Correct.
And then it was just became all of a sudden like that, like it, again, like that click, right? I understood the importance of social media. I understood that I had to get over myself and just
Mm.
start doing it and learn from my mistakes.
Absolutely, absolutely. The best way to learn is to just put yourself out there, and you learn over time. And the
and you
same
were
thing. Yeah.
and you were talking about how there's going to be changes this year in business.
Oh,
I'm curious to hear your point of view on that.
so like I think there's a lots of things happening in the world from the last 1 or 2 years, but mostly almost in the fourth quarter. A lot of things started stimulating in terms of NFTs, Facebook turning, changing its name to Meta. This just tells you what is coming around the corner. It's just telling you how the businesses are going to change, how new businesses are going to come into existence, how you can integrate your already existing business into something which is coming out from metaverse or web 3.0, or maybe this is NFT. I'm really curious, and I'm also researching at the same time what is the best way to integrate the already existing businesses with the new technology coming in, with the new uh, opportunities coming in. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say everyone, whoever is watching this video, whoever is going to listen to this, if it is a podcast later on, start researching NFTs. Start researching what metaverse is. Start researching how you can. Don't just think of it in terms of investment point of view. You can, if that is one, because a lot of there are so many NFT projects. There are so many crypto projects out there which are just starting out and everything. But remember, 98% of them are just going to pop,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a very initial start. This is
Yeah.
just like how that 2K
The
thing,
internet bubble.
the internet bubble thing happened. Everybody wanted to get into it, then it's going, and it's going to burst over
Mm-hmm.
eventually, because it's not sustainable. Everybody is just getting into that for the sake, because it's the hype. And some might make a lot of millions and dollars into it, and some might just they realize, oh, this is nothing great about this project. So it's
Mm-hmm.
better just start learning how you can integrate your business. Maybe it is a real estate, like for example, there are literally virtual real estate that you can buy from Decentraland or the Sandbox and XC Infinity. These are so many different projects. Like you can literally go to their games, and you can buy a plot of land, and you can literally rent it out to someone, and you can earn money out of it.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, when I think about this, like I feel, I mean, we can literally have the whole 1 hour of discussion about it sometime later in the future. But I feel the businesses and the way that we are doing right now, the employment structure, everything is going to change. I think people
Mm-hmm.
are going to work virtually everywhere, and not on a fixed job salary thing. They would be working part time into different stuff.
Yeah. Like piecework. I also think the same thing. It's going to be a lot of piecework because that's funny you say that. I also have been saying the same thing, thinking the same thing. I remember a few years I was talking about it because
Mm.
you just see how the younger generations,
Yeah.
even younger than us, they're just interested in doing the things, even more the things they enjoy,
Mm.
right? And
Yes.
so they're definitely going to be the kind of people where they're going to look at a project and be like, am I interested in being
Mm.
involved? And I say yes or no, and they do it. So it'll be very piecework type of things because we're in an era where it's like we want to do what we enjoy. It's not
Yeah.
about just working for money because now we're starting to get into this
Yeah.
abundance of money and there's lots
Yeah.
of money coming out where it's like and like our parents did so much for us to help us get to where we are and a lot of us got into like a good middle class or like we make enough money that we're satisfied that we're not struggling and we're not like enslaved to the money. Like I need to pay my
Yeah.
bills. Like, you're making enough. So now it's going to turn into, now we're turning into that. Like it's about enjoying our lives and doing the work. Like, I mean,
Mm.
work will always be there. Like everyone's going to want to work, but it's going to be working on things that you are interested in that,
Yeah.
like that mentally stimulate you and just you enjoy, right? Because it's like now it's like the time of being happy with what you do and not just doing things because you need the money.
Yeah. And I also believe that, like, in the coming few years, and even the same era that we are part of, making money is far easier than it was before. And
Mm-hmm.
if you just keep your eyes open and just start educating yourself, but don't expect to get rich overnight, sort of a thing.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
whole
that's
point.
the downfall for people,
Yeah.
right? It's they're like, oh, for example, like that. Oh, if I invest in this
Yeah.
crypto, I'm gonna make like $1 billion, and that's where what gets you.
Yeah.
Um,
Or just play options and shorts and puts, and just that, maybe overnight I just put some money into this, and tomorrow I'm going to get $1 million out of it. It's all luck. Don't
yeah,
rely on that. Edu-
exactly.
Education is really important because there are so many things that we are literally unaware of. And just thinking about the fact that we literally, here's a very funny experiment that you can do with younger generations and in comparison to where we come from. How would you give, how would you, if you were to signal someone a telephone sign, how would you do that?
Like this?
Right? You'll do like this
Yeah.
because this says that you're a millennial. Now ask,
Yeah.
Generation Z boy or a girl anytime. Like if anybody's watching this, ask your children, what is the sign
Yeah.
for a
What would they
phone?
do? Like this?
They will do this. What I've seen, they would do this, or they would do this.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because we come from the generation where there is a telephone and you pick it up and you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Similarly, like we learned the definitions in our generation, like we learned what mobile was. It was launched, internet was launched, and now the new generation, they're born with it. They're
Mhm.
already accepted when they were born, so they would be more flexible in integrating that into their life and applying those things into their work. So I think making money for them would be easy because they will be already
Yeah,
born
they're
with these
already in it.
applications.
Hmm.
So it's fun to see how the shift is going to happen. But I would just recommend everyone to just keep your eyes open, start learning more about educate like this cryptos and NFTs, mostly Web 3.0. There's a lot big shift coming up. I would love to discuss more about it. In fact, I'm going to have another live recently that I spoke to with somebody. Then I'm going to have a live again on Web 3.0 and what the NFTs are on Instagram. But
Hmm.
yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than, in fact, I'm launching my video course and that has some kind of NFT integration with it. I'm not going to disclose much because I'm still in working like how to structure it, but I'm really curious to just test it out. How does that work?
Hmm. Yeah, that's super interesting. And
Mm.
even if you do that chat, like share it with the group,
Yeah, I'm
like
going
post
to.
it in the group so that people
Yeah, I'm
can
going to do a
hear about
YouTube.
it.
It's going to be a Instagram live, uh, maybe in a week or two from now. But whenever I do that, I'll share the links with you, and we can do that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Because I'm sure people will enjoy to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much, like always, for coming on. So let's finish off with an action for
Hmm.
people. Do you have any type of action you think that people should take to get their goals started, or
I
any?
think,
What do you think?
yeah. So anything that you can measure. First thing is like whatever your goal is, even if it is a financial number, even if it is some things that quantity that you want to build up over the period of time, just reverse engineer, write it down, reverse engineer it, like how
Mm-hmm.
much would it be require, how much action would it require for you to do on every month basis, weekly basis, daily basis, and then
Mm-hmm.
figure out like how have you given yourself audacious goal and you are going to burn out, or you think yeah this is doable,
Yeah.
and
And
then
it actually makes you think bigger in
yeah,
the sense like once you start breaking it down and then you kind of start thinking like what do I have to do to
yes,
actually make this audacious goal like that, like let's say you say like I want to go for 1 million and then you break that down like how much it is per month and
yeah,
then you say that okay that's a lot, like again like how do I make that happen, you start like actually starts opening your mind to the different
absolutely.
possibilities that you
Like
can
when you think
take
about it,
care
like
of. Can you hear me?
exactly how I thought about it, like when I thought about like how much time, how much, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
So
I
when I thought about it,
couldn't
like,
hear you. Sorry, my phone went off if if you could hear it.
okay. So like I was saying, like there are two ways to go around it. Like when you were saying that there is $100,000 of a goal that you have on the monthly basis, just break it down. Like how many people do you need? How many consumers do you need? Either you can have like 1,000 consumers with $100 per month sort of a thing, which can work out for you, or
Mm-hmm.
you can have a $10,000 of a product multiply by 10. So like you just need 10 consumers for
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 of a product. And that is literally what like, earlier, literally, like, I also reverse engineered my goals and how do I achieve that kind of a target. I could go quantity, I could go quality. And quality means you can charge more, but you also are very, you value your customers value you, but at the same time you are able to give more, uh, value to them and make their, and you're also not burning out by having more and larger quantities. So just see what is more applicable for you, that you don't get burnout, because the value shift can happen here and there. Either it is the quantity value which will increase, or the amount value which will increase, and the other value will go up.
Mm-hmm.
So just measuring in that way is a really good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very great tip. And like that, I realize when you do those kind of things, it also just helps you realize that even it is doable. Actually, even though your audacious goals are that, you just realize, well, like that, like I just need to, yeah, and then you decide which way you want to go, and you just start realizing.
Can you hear me?